And I see, before I introduce our next speaker, there's a lot of people standing in the back. So if you want to join the conversation, also feel free to grab a seat. Feel free to grab one of our goodie bags. You do not need to stand in the back if we have space left for you to sit. And having said that, it's a pleasure to introduce the next two speakers for our slot, talking about scaling data mesh at Allianz Direct. And they're already here. It's Martin Günther and Lukas Feuerstein. That was quick. I'll do a quick introduction of who you are before you can jump into your presentation. No, feel free to be with me. So we have Lukas. He's a senior AI and data strategy manager with a focus in AI and data business cases, analytics, operating model design, and data-driven decisioning. And we have Martin Günther, who's a senior consultant at Deloitte, Germany, specializing in data engineering and governance. And you'll be talking about your experience of scaling data mesh at Allianz Direct. Thank you very much for joining us today, and the stage is yours.
Thanks. Oh, okay. Hello. Yeah. Okay, yeah, thanks. Thanks for having us. Thanks for the introduction. We're here to talk about our data mesh journey at Allianz Direct. How do I go to the next? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. As already said, my name is Martin. I've been for Deloitte on the Allianz Direct account for 2 years now, and soon to be part of Allianz Direct myself, actually, as a lead data engineer. Lukas, you've just been...
And I'm Lukas. I have been introduced. Just adding to that, I'm also a board member of the working group, at the Bitkom working group for advanced analytics and big data. And getting back to you, Martin, about the agenda today.
Thanks. Okay. Yeah, so regarding agenda, we'll quickly say a few words about Allianz Direct itself, the company. Then we will dive into like a typical use case that kind of motivated us at Allianz Direct to speak about, to think about and to actually implement the data mesh ideas. Then quickly, across some architecture and wrapping up to lessons learned. All right, Allianz Direct. Of course, we are like a subsidiary of Allianz, the big Allianz. What we want to do at Allianz Direct, we want to make insurance as simple as possible for our users. Yeah, that means the user can go to the website and buy like insurance within a few minutes, actually 1 minute, and can also get a claim regulated once they had a damage. Within 3 minutes, and then they will actually get a payout when everything is normal. There are no other questions that necessitate human intervention. They can get this time frame down to about 5 minutes to actually get the damage payout into the account. So the aim is to do to have the customer having car insurance that he basically can forget about if he doesn't need it, and if he has something to do with it, then it's very easy for him to interact with us. How do we do this? We do this by actually not being an insurance company. We are more a technology company that happens to sell insurance, so that has an insurance license. And that's basically the DNA of Allianz Direct, and that's how we make these things possible. Quickly about the history, we started in 2019. Soon onboarded a few countries and 3 products, and at the moment we have a working platform that we can easily integrate new partners onto, add new products, and add new geographies as well. Okay, in the next slide, Lukas will talk about a few challenges that always arise when you build a platform like this and you want to scale the data plane.
Exactly. Thank you, Martin. Yeah. So I think we heard during the day a lot about data mesh, so I will not introduce the foundations anymore. But let us quickly go back how traditional way of data management has worked in the past. Yeah. Imagine that you are a financial controller at Allianz Direct and you want to have the number of sales in a report displayed. Yeah. And in the former situation, you have the business, you have a central IT department or the data engineering BI group. And you have, of course, the business and the data source owners that owns the system that supply the data. Yeah? So what usually happens, and I guess many people here can also tell the same story. The financial controller, aka the business, is sending a request. Yes, I want to have the number of sales per quarter displayed in my nice dashboard or report. Yeah? This goes to the central BI and data engineering team, right? And when they look in the data lake or data warehouse, if they happen to have one, they find actually a lot of sales number information. Maybe a sales information about users that click buy, users that maybe purchased and paid the insurance, and maybe contracts that has been activated. So data that is in different ownership in different domains that come from different sources. And usually you have to do a lot of workshops to get the right numbers figured out. Yeah? And you all know time flies. So it takes months to get the requirements defined and put into a Word document. This goes then back to the central IT team, and then the developer starts ETL, process development, and if you are lucky in the end at step 4, the report is there. In the former world, maybe in Excel or PDF, but half a year later, usually you're not really sure if this is the right number you want to have in the report, or maybe even your requirements have been changed. So the old process has had many challenges in the traditional way, very slow. And you have in the middle sandwiched the IT department, the BI and data engineering teams, who has to basically pay for the bad structure and governance that is there. So that's why Allianz Direct came up with a new approach, a data mesh approach, and Martin will walk us through to it.
Yeah, thanks, Lukas. One of the essential issues that also Lukas pointed out is that once this report is ready, it's a question who owns this thing. Like usually this is owned by the people that build it, which is the central data engineering team. There you have your first issue because, they can be responsible for the technical creation, but they can never be responsible for the numbers themselves because they're just not owning the operations, the operational systems that generated those numbers. Yeah, so this is why data mesh comes into play and has a really nice promise. Which is domain distributed ownership and data as a product. Domain distributed ownership solves this issue that I just touched upon by saying, okay, if you're a domain and you're owning some business functions, then this data that you generate, that these business functions generate, you're going to have to execute the ownership of this until the data plane, until the analytical data life. This of course adds a lot of pressure to the business function because all of a sudden, like they have ownership. Ownership means responsibility. That essentially means being responsibility of portraying the data, and also in terms of data as a product, not only just dumping it onto the data platform, but actually providing the value for the data. And the difference we've talked about in the previous presentations already. So how did we overcome this at Allianz Direct? I think the first aspect when thinking about introducing a data mesh architecture is always starting with the people, because it's been said a few times, data mesh is not a technology. It's not a technology shift. It's a mindset shift. And mindset starts in the organization itself. So first thing was to convince and to evangelize into the business teams that this is a good thing, like talking about the advantages, and also having a dedicated person from our data team being an evangelist for a certain business domain. So essentially having cross-functional teams that can bring the data mesh thought into the organization. What I touched upon before, like what does domain distributed ownership mean? It means essentially having responsibility for your data, for getting your data where it can be analyzed, and for ensuring that this data can only be seen by the people that it's supposed to be seen by. Yeah? And last but not least, also to build a data product ecosystem that enables drawing the most gain that you can get out of the data. So actually providing insight, not only the data. In these processes, of course, they are executed by business people, and but what they're doing actually is like doing data ingestion, doing security settings, and this means there's actually quite a lot of technology hidden underneath. And this is provided at Allianz Direct by a self-service infrastructure platform who can do exactly that, yeah? Who can be operated by technology-minded business team members that are able to execute the processes, but they don't have to be experts in technology at all in order to execute these. Okay. In the next slide, I will quickly show some architecture, very simple ones, a few boxes. So how this is actually implemented at the moment is sketched here. Like on the left side, we have the operational data plane. This is where all our operational systems live. The systems that interact with customers, that do quotes, and that essentially make out form the insurance. So we have a few microservices, some databases, some REST APIs, some storage accounts, And so this data needs to be put into the analytical data world in order to so that it can be analyzed and that reports can be built out of that. So what we did at Allianz Direct is develop a bunch of connectors that can be configured via configuration file and deployed automatically via automated deployment workflows, which are in turn triggered by the business people, by the business functions. Yeah. So that means we have zero interaction with the central data engineering team here. And this data can actually be forwarded into the refined zone, where it can also be accessed by Power BI, our central visualization tool, and be used in automated reports. So essentially, the time of getting data all the way from the left of the operational plane to all the way on the right into a report that you can publish to the entire company is literally a few minutes. Yeah, so that is a lot of time gain than before. Also, what we have here is the model zone, where the business BI members can actually contextualize and model their data. So that's where a lot of magic happens as well. See, we're not really going good on time, but I will do my best. Now circling back to the example that we had before that Lukas presented. The situation now is a little bit different. Like, we don't have a central BI team in the middle anymore that is driving all these processes to create a new sales report, for example. But all this functional correspondence, which is usually necessary to create value, to create like insight from data, is actually driven by the data representatives of the business functions. So in this case, the data product owner. And only like if there's some special SME support necessary, the BI team will assist. All the data onboarding, of course, can be done by the business team as well. So what we have in the end is that we have a sales report which can be owned 100% by the business function, and the data team only owns the technical processes. Okay, so far so good. What are our key challenges? Basically bringing into the organization the data mesh thought, like bring the advantages for having domain distributed ownership, and to see data as a product rather than just an asset that happens to be a side product of your operational processes. And we did that by going into the organization as much as possible. Also having strong leadership support, which was really necessary. And lastly, of course, technology. We did it by enforcing metadata, like the right kind of metadata right from the start, so that we have a single point of truth for the structure of the data that we're dealing with, that making possible all these like automated transformation, automated transports, and also automated depersonalization when it's necessary.
Thank you, Martin, for that. And we are almost at the end. So what we want you as a key takeaway for today to take with you home, if you also want to do a data mesh transformation, is as Martin mentioned. So we are now more than 1 year in this journey with Allianz Direct. The start was very important because we got top-down approval for this initiative. Yeah, so the board was involved on that and supported the full transformation journey. However, what was crucial for us, and the sales report example we showed could be used as an example, that we started also to provide value very fast, having a concrete use case, having a concrete domain to start with. In addition, and Martin has presented that, I think, on the slide before, the technology is, of course, key. And data mesh, self-serving technology, and also the governance layers around that is, of course, complex. It needs to be prepared and built up, and therefore you need a strong supporter in the organization. And we also hear this during the next sessions. Data upskilling, data literacy of the teams are important, because in data mesh, business people and IT people, data engineers and business analysts come together, need to work in the same team, so you need to upskill both sides of the teams. Especially important at Allianz, and a key success factor was also that we early on boarded the data product owners, which are the central ambassadors for our initiative during the approach. Yeah? So we put them very early into our use cases, into our data product prototypes, to be able to use them as ambassadors and multipliers for the data mesh transformation. And last but not least, even so, many vendors are proclaiming data mesh is just a technology. It's a huge cultural, it's a huge mindset change, and you should manage this as a classical change management project. Yeah? And use also many talks today, tomorrow from us, from other clients and partners about data mesh to network and get advice on your data mesh journey. And with that, we are closing our presentation. And if there are some questions, if you have some time, happy to answer them. If not, talk to us later as well.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thanks, Martin and Lukas. We indeed have a couple of minutes left. So if there are any follow-up questions you want to ask in the audience, just looking at you. Guess you all got lunch. You should be activated right now, not sleeping. But you already offered that, so if there's any questions coming up during the next couple of hours or tomorrow, you'll stick around. You're here to answer questions and really use this as an opportunity to network. And thank you very much again for taking your time.
Thank you.